Now, before we get into today's subject, we're going to get into getting to the root of things. I think we have to go way back and talk about, ancient times, what they were thinking, what they were trying to get across to the public. If you look at it, the authorities convinced mankind that the stars were gods. Now you think, that was way back then. We're so much more sophisticated. We know a lot more today in today's society with all the teachings that we get taught with education, with the top people in industries across all facets of life. Have we really evolved? Are we even more than what we know? Now, a lot of times we get into things and we talk about the stars, and we talk in the moon, and we talk in the sun. But let's just start with the sun, because as we know it, the sun is nothing more than a star. It actually is the G2 star, one of more than 100 billion stars in our galaxy. This is what we've been told. So we're kind of in our own solar system, and we're all revolving around different suns. Now, in ancient times, that sun, the Greeks, they called it helios. The Romans called it sol. Now, we're getting into the heliocentric model, and this is kind of the roots, getting into everything that we're going to talk about. But I started thinking about everything, and I'm like, okay, this is starting to surface. People are starting to talk about this. But what's really going on? Where's the deep-rooted? Where's the background of this? Where does this come from? Where is it leading? A lot of people are talking all these different theories. I'm really interested in what's really going on today, and where are they trying to take us? So you get into all these theories, and as Christians, we know that we've debunked evolution. We've looked at the massive errors, the massive links that are missing all throughout evolution. But yet, when we look at the cosmology and we look at everything that's been proposed, we just, at first glance, say, well, yeah, of course, that's it. But is it? Is there some deeper agenda going on? Looking into it, I'm saying that there is. In the research that I've done, I can definitely see that, authorities have convinced mankind that stars were gods way back in the day. Isaiah 47:13, Daniel 2:27, definitely talk about the astrologers, the stargazers, the soothsayers, the magicians, and the monthly prognosticators, as something that should be looked at. And if we look at today, definitely with the stargazing that's going on, the astrologers, we've kind of linked everything in together, and it just seems like it's just kind of crazy. I mean, if you even look at all of the so-called planets in our solar system, I mean, they all have occult, origins. You look at like Pluto and Mercury and Venus and Mars and Jupiter. I mean, these from the get-go have all even been named under, ancient occultic type things. So I'm just looking at it. I'm not convinced that just everything is the way it is. I mean, the Bible definitely talks about even the stars. We've been told that they're just completely massive, like huge. I mean, I'm not even sure, when you look at everything, what the sun is considered. But the sun, I believe the diameter is something like it's like 1.3 kilometers. That's massive, and supposedly that's not even the largest one in the galaxies. You look into the solar system, and they talk about just hundreds and billions, and everything is just masqueraded. Like when you look at evolution, you look at everything over millions and billions of years, and the same thing we have when it comes down to the solar system and our galaxies. Everything is like millions and millions, and then they disguise things in light years, and it's just crazy if you start to bring in all these things together and you start saying, well, what's going on? Can we look at things and say this is it, or do we just believe NASA, the government, and military? I mean, we know that most of the stuff has been faked anyways. So, but really, what's going on? Is there an agenda? Do they want to tell us about these heliocentric solar systems around suns? What are suns? They're stars. And if you look in the Bible, it definitely talks about suns being stars, being a lot different than what we've been told. So I just like to kind of start and show you a couple things. One of the big names right now, we've had Dawkins, and we've had Bill Nye, the science guy, and all this sort of things. Well, one of the up and comers is Neil deGrasse Tyson. And when he breaks it down saying, hey, where are we from? I mean, we've been told that, it's from the goo to the zoo to you. But you ask yourself, where's the goo? And what they'll say is, well, we're from stars. We're stardust. And you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson tell you that this is what you are. You're nothing more than stardust.
We are stardust.
Yes.
What does that mean?
For me, the most astonishing fact is that the molecules that comprise our body are traceable to the crucibles of the centers of stars that manufactured these elements from lighter versions of themselves and then exploded, scattering this enrichment across the galaxy into gas clouds that would later collapse to form next generation star systems. One of those star systems was ours. These atoms and molecules are in us because, in fact, the universe is in us. And we are not only figuratively, but literally stardust.
So now you've heard that basically we evolved, or we just came from stardust. So science loves to talk about us being stars. This is the problem. Like I mentioned before, our whole system has been a lie. Satan has actually used it very cleverly because he's introduced kind of a religion masqueraded in fact, in something that can't be disputed, or can it? And I think that's what we're doing, is we're starting to piece things together. We're starting to do our own research. We're starting to figure out that really what the top intellectuals of the world, God calls it foolishness. If you read all throughout, scriptures continually talk about how the wisdom of man is absolute foolishness to God. We are saying that we're exploring the universe. We have a Land Rover on Mars, and we've gone to Pluto, and we're going all over. But really, I don't think that that's the case. And I think that we've seen science basically talk about that the stars are the significant part, which, again, are nothing but suns, is what we've been told. Understand that the Bible says that there was a sun, moon, and also stars. Stars are not suns. There is no suns. There is one sun. The Bible's very clear. There is one sun and one moon. So first of all, we know that that is a massive lie. But the question is, why would they lie about that? Why would they convince us that stars are suns? Why would they take out the significance of the one true sun? But here's the thing. The one sun, it was a light for day, for Earth. Earth is the significant part, not the sun. With the heliocentric model, that they've made the sun the center point. Everything revolves around the sun. And this is where the problem is. I think Satan wants us to think that everything revolves around us. In turn, we're part of the universe. We actually are gods. And if you understand and you research occult literature, you even understand Satanism. Even Satanist himself, Aleister Crowley, which had close ties with Jack Parsons, with NASA. And if you understand, and we'll do another part about NASA and the connection there, but we'll just shortly give you a little connection with Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley, because a lot of people are like, well, I know who Jack Parsons is, he's with NASA, and I know he was occultic and stuff, but a lot of people don't know who Aleister Crowley is. Without going into it too deep, Aleister Crowley was considered one of the most wickedest persons on the face of this earth. He was kicked out of Britain. He admitted to human sacrifices. He performed sexual magic. He wrote numerous amount of books, and he's the patron saint of pretty much all the mega rock star acts throughout the ages. Politics, politicians. He was featured at the very back of Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts with the Beatles album. There's so much to talk about him. But the connection is very interesting when you get into the beginnings of NASA, because with Jack Parsons being heavily involved in the occult and bringing and tying in the spirituality, not just the science, now you bring the spirituality and you find out that they're still talking about the same thing. Aleister Crowley, with one of the biggest things was do what thou wilt. That was the whole of the law, summed everything. The other one was love, and we'll talk more about that everything was okay under the banner of love, which is crazy, and we're seeing a lot of things happen but because of love. Love can't be bad, can it? Well, we'll talk about that as well too another time. For now, we're going to talk about the third main facet in the book of the law, which was every man and every woman is a star. Getting deeper into it, understanding that basically we're godlike, that we're part of the universe, that we can ascend, we can evolve into godhood. This is where it gets into it. And I think this is where they bring in everything to do with the whole lives of our whole galaxy. And this is the interesting part. So I wanted to kind of give you a little understanding with the connection with Aleister Crowley. And you can kind of go from there and see what you think. Here we go.
But Jack Parsons was possessed with extraordinary ideas that sought far loftier heights than mere space rocket designs. Parsons was fascinated by the occult, and in 1941 he was to join the Pasadena chapter of Ordo Templi Orientis, Aleister Crowley's secret society. Not long after, Parsons took over the Agape Lodge himself. Observing Parsons' natural aptitude for ritual sex magic, called thelema, the membership saw him as a potential successor to the great beast Aleister Crowley himself, whom Parsons addressed as Most Beloved Father. Born on October 12, 1875 in Warwickshire, England, Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He was responsible for founding the religion and philosophy of sexual magic, thelema, in which role he identified himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century. In 1898 he joined the esoteric Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he was trained in ceremonial magic. Like many of that era, Crowley was something of a crusading militant intellectual, determined to break down the conventions of accepted social morality. Later he traveled to Mexico and then India to study Hindu and Buddhist practices. In 1904 he married Rose Edith Kelly, and they honeymooned in Cairo, Egypt. In the Great Pyramid, Crowley conducted an occult ritual intending to access supernatural powers. The black magic ritual held in the Great Pyramid marked an unexpected turning point in Crowley's life. The following day he recounted, "Rose got into a strange state of mind. I had never seen anything like it before. She kept on repeating, dreamily yet intensely, 'They are waiting for you. They are waiting for you.' When Crowley asked Rose who was waiting, she kept repeating that it was Horus, an Egyptian god. Rose knew nothing of magic and even less of Egyptology, making it highly unlikely that she was receiving a message from the gods. But to test what Rose was saying, he took her to the Cairo Museum. And although Rose had never visited the museum before, she rushed through the rooms filled with ancient artifacts, until suddenly she stopped dead before case number 666. "There he is," she insisted. Within the case was the image of the god she claimed to have seen in her vision, the god Horus. Over the next 3 days, at precisely the same time, an unearthly voice dictated to Crowley the Book of the Law, the book that would become the Bible of his new religion. Following their fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid, Crowley's wife Rose mysteriously proclaimed that the equinox of the gods has come. The alleged superhuman intelligence contacted by Aleister Crowley during his visit to Egypt was named Aiwass, who declared, "I am a god of war and vengeance." and then dictated to Crowley a work called the Book of the Law, which prophesied wars and revolutions, leading to the collapse of Christian civilizations and the dawn of the Aeon of Horus. Crowley's Bible also proclaims the law of Thelema, usually summed up in 3 mantra-like verses. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. And every man and every woman is a star. According to another Crowley student, Kenneth Grant, Aiwass is an extraterrestrial from Sirius, the stellar representation of the Egyptian goddess Isis.
So there you have it. Could there be anything more to this? Could the science connection, could the spiritual connection with our whole solar system, the heliocentric model, the sun, all the stars, the significance of astrology, even to the naming of the so-called planets, even to the constellations, everything, could it have a deeper meaning? That's the question that you've got to look at. You've got to do your digging, you've got to research it. If at all you're interested in this subject, I am interested in it, and I will be spending a lot of time expanding on the whole flat earth theory, on the proposed enclosed system that we live in, that really everything that we've been taught, this spinning ball flying through space with no reason, we're just a random explosion, a big bang that actually banged out of nothing. Nothing became something and created everything. I'm telling you, right from the very beginning, it's all been a lie. How far does this lie go? Stay tuned. We'll talk more about it. We'll get deeper into everything that has to do with God's creation. The firmament, the sun, moon, stars, and what he has planned for you and I.